Hi, good morning. So, welcome to another video. And for today, we're going to review this paper. Okay, so is there a relationship between carbon dioxide level in the atmosphere and tropical cyclones? Now, this is a very kind of tricky question um, because when you say tropical cyclones, there are a lot of aspects about tropical cyclones. So, copy ko na lang ito. Okay. Okay. So when you say tropical cyclones, there are many things about it. Okay. First thing about it is, are we talking about um, the strength? Okay. Are we talking about the strength of the tropical cyclone? Are we talking about the um, frequency or the number of um, occurring tropical cyclones? Are we also talking about the humidity? Okay, so there are a lot of factors about tropical cyclones that you have to understand really. Now, it depends on your analysis if which of the following criteria or which of the following aspect of the tropical cyclone is best. Okay, so if you ask me, the are we going to consider the number of tropical cyclones that appears in the country every year, or are we going to talk about the strength or how strong the typhoons get every year in relation to carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere? Uh, and besides, there's also one factor that I'm going to look at this one because the world is so big. The world is so big that the climate and the weather, the wind and weather patterns all around the world is different. For example, if we're going to look at windy, okay, there are locations in the world has that always has typhoon. Yung parang very common na yung typhoon sa kanila. For example, this one, it's very common in this area to have this kind of weather pattern. Though we don't really consider this as a typhoon because, I mean, I'm not a meteorologist, but because this is just really normal in the northern and southern hemisphere because of the circulation of the wind, of circulation of the hot and cold temperature, hot and cold air. For example, the hot air from the equator goes to the colder region here, which is on the South Pole. Remember that in heat transfer, okay, hindi ko na topic sa inyo sa physics, but when we say heat transfer, okay, heat always travels the energy travels from the hot region to the cold region. It's not the cold region to the hot region. It's not like that. It only flows one way. So from hot to cold. So the hot air from near the equator will travel to the colder regions which is in the south and the north pole. If you can see here, look at the weather flow of the wind here. See, so if we're going to look at the temperature really, see, this is the colder region, the coldest, and this is the farther coldest, the coldest region, and this is somewhere colder, and this is slightly cold, and this is the hot region. If you can see, the hot air from near the equator travels to the south, and that traveling of the hot to the cold, hot and cold, from traveling of the hot air to the cold air regions creates wind. Okay, and that makes the circulation, that creates a circulation here, so pretty normal na sa kanila. Now, the now you have to understand what part of the in which part of the world you are going to do your analysis, because it really depends on the position. It depends if more for example, more typhoons or cyclones, tropical cyclones are occurring in the Pacific region because this is vastly waters, and we all know that typhoons, tropical cyclones, really, rather, tropical cyclones uh, occur um, in vast amounts of water like this, compared to the Atlantic Ocean here and the Indian Ocean here. The Pacific Ocean is bigger, which means it has more area, more time for typhoons to occur. Now, that is the reason why the Philippines rank the third or the fifth in. I think this is the third one. The third is the most disastrous location or nation to be with in terms of typhoon. Because, yeah, so wala na, wala tayo mag deal dito. Tuloy na tayo. Okay? So, that's my premise. Okay? So, you have to consider which what would be the location. Now, having that into perspective, when you say location, it means taga saan ba kayo? So you're only going to talk about Philippines. Philippines, because this is what we will all understand. For example, if you're doing this for your research, okay? If you're doing this for your research, it's very highly likely that your audience or your participants or listeners will be from the Philippines. Now, if you create an analysis, if you do an analysis for other countries and you're here in the Philippines, ano naman ang pakialam ng mga Pilipino dyan? Eh, hindi naman sa Pilipinas pala yan. Anong pakialam namin kung maraming bagyo doon? Anong pakialam namin kung maraming super typhoon naglilindol-lindol na doon? We don't really care. So, you will make an analysis on where you are right now, which is the Philippines. Okay? So these are the things that I'm expecting on your expecting to see in your term paper. So the settings. So the settings is really important. Where are you going to do your analysis? Where are the datas? Where are you going to get the datas? Okay? Now, looking at your term paper, I was really fascinated to see. Wow, okay. So, ang ganda ng front. Okay, so how about the content really? Okay. So, may overview, problem, okay? Okay, now one comment here. Please, next time, kung gagawa kayo ng any kind of term paper or report, avoid doing this. You have to break the paragraph para madaling basahin. For example, this one, you have to separate this paragraph with this one. So next line nyo na ito. Masakit kasi sa mata, ang hirap basahin. Please, okay? So tuturuan ko na kayo. Kasi baka hindi tinurusan nyo sa high school. So, tropical cyclones rank among the deadliest okay, yeah. Okay, so may mga naka blue-green dyan. Okay? Naka-highlight ng blue-green kasi hindi ko sila nakikita sa references. Huli. Huli balbon. So, kapag ito yung mga situation o ito yung mga ginagawa sa paper, nag-iisip na agad ako na plagiarized ito. Highly plagiarized. So, ibig sabihin na nauso yung copy-paste. Okay? Tingin ko na copy-paste talaga to. So, rising concentration of carbon dioxide is expected. Not dated. Weird, no? Not dated. This report is not dated. Usually, nangyayari ito kapag website. The increase. Pero, meron pa rin date yan kapag sa website. You really have to put it. Baka kasi 1980 yung date na yan. It's irrelevant na. If you're going to put a data from 1980 na may ganito, 2021 na, it's irrelevant. Okay, it's totally useless. It does for other situations, but not on this. Rising concentration. Okay, the duration. Okay, rising concentration of carbon dioxide is expected to affect tropical cyclone intensity. Expected na pala So bakit yung pagagawin yung study nyo? Nandito na sinabi nyo na pala expected. Di tapos na usapan. Wala na kayong gagawin kasi rising concentration of carbon dioxide is expected. So it means there is already correlation. So bakit nyo pa ginawa yung analysis nyo nasabi nyo na dito? So alam nyo na pala bakit nyo pa gagawin? The increase in surface temperatures due to carbon dioxide repulsive vapor. Yun nga. So, who said this? Okay? Who said this? Okay? So, I think wala kayong citation dito in a way that who said this? Okay? So, what's the problem really? What's the problem? Or yeah, the question. Yeah, I think okay lang naman. Pero nangyari kasi parang conclusion siya eh. Parang summary. Parang summary ng isang study. So, tingin ko talaga plagiarized ito. Okay, so, tatrack ko na kung plagiarized to. Hmm. Okay. The increase. Sea surface. Intensive. High. Okay, wala dito. Okay. Nutson. 2010. Hmm. Okay, mukhang kailangan i-download ito. Okay. Find in page. Area of high Tama ba tong pag-site nyo? To ship. Global climate models. Okay. The more water expands, the spin area of essential for the possible solution ice flows. Some natural choices. Interesting. Tropical cyclones and climate change. Recent. Okay, ba naman yan? Mahirap i-track. Kailangan gamitan ng plagiarism tool. The assumption appears to be that dominant effect of increasing CO2 on tropical cyclones is through an increase in tropical mean surface temperature. However, recent modeling studies suggest that both spatial patterns of SST warming can significantly affect global and regional tropical cyclone statistics depending on the no, okay. So in this paper is to discuss whether there is okay. So i-discuss nyo pa na-discuss nyo na dito. Weird lang. Nasabi nyo na. Rising concentration of carbon dioxide is expected to affect tropical cyclone intensity, frequency, and duration. Medyo weird lang. Pura lang talaga akong plagiarism scanner. Tingin ko na plagiarized, highly plagiarized to. May study ko yung pinagkunan nito. The assumption appears to be a dominant effect. Okay, so see, meron na naman, oh. See? Spatial patterns. Significantly affect, can significantly affect global and regional tropical cyclone statistics. Weird lang. Diba? So, it means that you're not discussing, you're not giving the overview of the problem or the question. You are already stating the answers, the result, you already revealed the answer, okay, on your overview of the problem question. So this is not the overview of the problem of the question, but this is the answer to the problem / question. So very funny. So ano dapat ang nilagay niyo dito? No, ano dapat nilagay niyo dito? So I think one paragraph will do. Okay, the overview of the problem is that the rising number of CO2 in levels in the atmosphere and the increasing and there has been an increasing amount of carbon dioxide or CO2 levels in the atmosphere due to increased human activities, which involves burning of fossil fuels. And then, and the occurrence of typhoons. Occurrence of typhoons, especially the increasing occurrence of typhoons in the Pacific regions, specifically in the Philippines, okay? Specifically in the Philippines, causes a lot of destruction to humans and properties. So yun lang. Now, this term paper aims to solve the question, to unravel or to answer the question if there is a relationship between carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere and tropical cyclones. So yun lang. This is hindi ganito. This is parang kasi gaya ng sinabi ko kanina, na-discussion na dito. This is already discussion of what other studies has already conducted, which is already an answer to the question that you are trying to solve. So, kung titingnan ko pa lang ito, dapat hindi ko natingnan yung susunod na page. Kasi, nasagot na. There is a significance, there is an expected result, there is a significant effect. So, bakit ko pababasahin yung paper mo? Meron na. Nasa part 1 pa lang, nakita na agad. So, it really makes, this really begs to answer the question if this is highly plagiarized. Okay, so I think this is plagiarized in a way that it is an excerpt of another study na hindi ko matrack. I think I really should use a plagiarism tool for this one. So for so part 1, I think this will I will give this a low score for this one because this is not an overview really. Ito lang siguro ng overview. Yeah, okay. Yan. It is because it is the deadliest. One of the deadliest, really. So, tama na, no? So, dito na lang tayo. Kasi tapos na, nasagot na eh. Okay, joke lang. So, the purpose of this paper is to discuss. I-discuss yun yan. Discuss yun na nga dito sa taas. Joke ba? Furthermore, it is proven that... yun nga, it is proven. Ano pa gagawin? Come on. It is proven that there is a relationship between CO2 levels in the atmosphere and tropical cyclones. In what sense nga? In what sense? There is. Pero, Sabi dito, okay, nga, it does. The discussion will also include information on the cyclone's frequency. O nga, which is, yun na nga, tingin ko nga, nakuha nyo talaga sa ibang study. Nilagay nyo lang dito. Mega hurricanes, okay. Meron talagang ibang study na pagkunan. We in the Philippines don't use hurricanes. Sa US, ginagamit ang hurricanes. Sa Philippines, we only use tropical cyclone, tropical storm, tropical depression. We don't use hurricanes. Okay? So, in terms of the audience pa lang, failed na din ito kasi this is a study for other countries, not in the Philippines. And we don't really care. And I don't really care about others. I don't really care about the result of this study because I'm not from other because I don't live in United States of America. So, sige nga, why the problem is important to be solved? Haba. Ganun din. Putulin nyo din to. Haba. Okay. With the rapid increase in carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere as well as an increase in the cyclone frequency, we should explore these two. Di ba parang ano na to? Ito na yung parang overview ng baliktad no? Parang overview to. Because of the devastation of a mere cyclone. It's not a mere cyclone. Super cyclone caused destruction. Not a mere cyclone. It is vital to research the factors that influence cyclones intensity. It is vital to research the factors that influence cyclones. Are you going to research the factors? No. So, nadadagdagan na lalo yung hinala ko na copy-paste ito. No, yeah. And I hate plagiarism. Ignoring such questions might lead to a lack of preparation which will result in ano naman, we don't really care about that one. You only care about the correlation if there is really a correlation. Strikes the country. Addressing this question is critical because it will not help us prepare but also help us to predict. You can't really predict but you are already expecting how many, no? You can't really predict kung gaano kalaki yung intensity. Heavily paraphrased talaga. This term paper will give people a better understanding of, are you going to really, what's cyclogenesis? Talaga, dito sa study nyo, ano nyo yung, pagbibigay kayo ng tropical cyclogenesis information? Really? Hanapin natin sa study nyo. Okay. Okay, saan ang cyclogenesis dito? Parang hindi nasagot no? Oo, parang hindi nasagot. Which will help them be more prepared, especially those in live in cyclone-prone areas. Yeah, like the Philippines, which you failed to discuss, really. Experience many storm. Weird lang, no? Hindi nyo na-discuss ang Philippines, eh. By providing them with vital information about carbon-induced cyclones. Whoa, carbon-induced cyclones. Do you have a basis or do you have an evidence na carbon-induced cyclones talaga? 'Di ba? Meron kayong mga results dito na there is no correlation. Really? Oh yeah, the duration. Haba. Ooh, really? Oh, why? I mean, you're saying a lot of things here. So, why the problem or question is important to be solved or answered? Hanapin ko yung yung sakto. Well, ito. Carbon-induced cyclones, really? Saan nanggaling ito? Saan nyo nakuha yan? Wala naman kayong ganyan ah. Weird lang. Saan nakuha yung carbon-induced cyclones? Ano yan? What? Dapat nga makikita to sa ano eh. Sa results sa conclusion kasi masasabi niyo na it is carbon induced cyclones because there is a correlation between carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and the tropical cyclones. Tapos nakikita ko na agad siya dito sa ano pa lang oh, part 2 and part 1. Wow. Parang okay. So, hindi ko na dapat talaga basahin yung susunod na pages, di ba? Kasi wala na, nasabi na dito. So why this is really important? No. This is important because actually nasabi niya dito yung mga essentials eh. Uh, this will serve as a wake up call to reduce carbon emission at the same time. Really, this will really serve as a wake up call to reduce our carbon emissions. Actually, that is one of the important reasons why. No, one of the important reasons why we have to answer the question because it will give us awareness that our rising CO2 levels in the atmosphere will create more and more destructive and powerful tropical cyclones. Actually, yun lang dapat eh. Dapat one sentence lang eh. One or two sentences will do. Not this, tong haba-haba. Para kayong si, ano? Sino nga yun? Si, Silencer. Three Idiots. No? Saan ba yun? Parang si Chatur. Parang yun si Chatur. Dami-daming sinagsasasabi eh. Lang naman ang kailangan sabihin. Okay. Methodology. Okay, quantitative technique, secondary data. Pwede nyo naman sabihin na ano, no? The study will use regression correlation analysis or correlation analysis and obtain data from sources like NASA, Pag-asa, whatever. Kung saan pa kayo kukuha. Sa NOAA. So, wala akong nakitang Pag-asa, wala akong nakitang NOAA, wala rin ako nakitang correlation dito. Meron ba? Study use qualitative technique, the qualitative data analysis outcome supportive content. Oh, parang the pogi boy is a pogi boy, oh. Double, oh. The acquired result is triangulated. Since the studies. Triangulated tapos correlation lang naman. What? What? Nagpapabibo sa ano, haba-haba. Oh, really? Data to ensure credibility. Credibility and accuracy of, hindi nyo kailangan sabihin pa dito ang credibility. The data from NASA, Pag-asa is already credible because they are the credible sources of information. So you don't really have to say that, you will do this, you will do data analysis, you will do triangulated analysis to ensure that the data is credible and accurate. What? Really? Nakatatawa tuloy ako dito. Wala lang, cute-cute lang. Secondary data sources on relationship between... So it means that you already used a data analyzed by other people. So, ang ginawa nyo, kukunin nyo yung data, tapos sasabihin nyo lang kung ano yung sinabi na nila. So, ano pang sense ng anong ginawa nyo dito? Wala, copy-paste lang, sir. Yun lang yung pinakamadali, o pinaka-direct to the point na sasabihin. It's copy-paste, sir. Then, pinaganda lang namin, pinahaba na lang namin yung content para mukhang bibo, ganun. Parang mukhang chatur. Ay, sus. A thorough literature. Thorough literature, really? Hindi naman eh. Ginamit nyo lang yung data na existing. And data analysis was really? Did data analysis? Saan dito yung data analysis? Yeah, data analysis, correlation, tapos naglagay kayo ng mga tables. Okay, tapos ano na? Wala na. I don't know. The data collected from various sources was processed. Wow, processed, encoded, and analyzed. Or weighted mean. Sige nga, saan ang weighted mean? Nasaan ang weighted mean? O, nasaan? Wala akong mga weighted mean dito. Wala. Saan ang weighted mean? I mean ito. Average. Pero nasaan yung pure data? Nasaan yung mga data na yan? Bakit average lang pinakita? If you're really saying that you are doing the analysis or calculation of the weighted mean, nasaan yung mga data? Ang pinapakita nyo na agad yung average. O, nasaan yung mga data? Wala man lang, okay. May problema din dito. Walang appendix. Wherein, ipapakita nyo lahat ng table, lahat ng data, kung saan, ano yung mga pinagkukunan mo, kunan nyo, paano nyo na-calculate itong average na to, paano nyo nakuha yung average na yan, saan yung data, saan ang galing, diba? Parang, what? What? Parang biglang lang nag-pop up kasi kinopy-paste lang talaga. Yun, sorry talaga, sorry. Yun na talaga nakikita ko dito. I mean, obvious naman, you don't have to use this. We already know what weighted mean is. Okay, we already know that. So, various government websites. Okay, like what? So, we have to say, are you going to use Pag-asa? Are you going to use NOAA? Are you going to use NASA? Or are you going to use what? What other sources of data you're going to put? You're not very specific. Methodology is very specific because you will tell here what you're going to use. No? Hindi yung, okay, qualitative technique, secondary data, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Naka-blue ito kasi dapat nilagay kayo ng ano eh. Dapat dito kayo nang lagay agad ng source, ba? XXXX. Dapat ito yan eh. Ganun yun guys. Yan. Diyan yung nalagay yan after nito. Okay, part 4. This part contains the tables of data gathered. Okay. Now, okay, meron pa akong isang hit dito sa ginawa nyo. Wala man lang ako nakitang visuals. Puro table. Wow. Ano yung, alam nyo, one of the most important aspect of data analysis is visuals. It's graphics. It's graphs. And your paper failed to use graphs. So, another minus points for this paper. Really. As already mentioned in my previous lecture, no, using tables like this and putting a lot of data like this is boring because you will not really see the pattern. So, I'm assuming na hindi talaga kayo nakikinig sa lecture, how much more nakikinig sa module. So, hopeless, really. See, I mean, okay, so what's the purpose of the data? What's the purpose of this data? Okay, you don't really see it. Ba't itong mga, ano pa kayo? Skumiyo, mahirap pa gumawa ng graph? Di pa tinuro sa inyo gumawa ng graph? Susmi naman. X, year. Y value, CO2 levels. O, mahirap pa gumawa ng ganitong graph? Diba? I don't really care about the table. I will care more about the graph because with the graph I can see, oh yeah, it's increasing. It's increasing. What? It's really increasing, so it's bothering. See, it's a linear increase. It means to say, you know, linear. Means to say, okay, that the amount of CO2 concentration in the atmosphere increases by 0.19 each year. Pero tama ba to? Dapat ayan na to. Linear forecast, moving average, linear forecast, tama. 0.1949 increase each year. Okay? Hirap pag gumawa ng ganito. Ay, CO2 versus year. CO2 levels, level versus year. Mirap po gumawa ng ganyan graph. Come on. Oh. See, okay. Table 2 shows the carbon dioxide level in the atmosphere from 20. Okay, increase in temperature mostly caused by burning of fossil fuels. Yeah, it's inarguably. The average increase, the average increase has increased? What? Come on. You put a table, tapos wala man lang kayong ginawang analysis dyan. I thought you're doing an analysis, you know. Tapos sasabihin nyo sa akin, 2.4 ppm per year? What? Eh, hindi naman yan ang lumalabas dito. Ang lumalabas ay 0.1949 ppm. Ba? Ito yung data nyo. Kung susundin natin itong linear projection, projected, okay? Hmm. La 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 la. List cost. Hindi pala. Okay, mali yun. Ito yun. 2 point. Sabi ko parang mali. So, 15. So, ppm is increasing by 2.2197. Tingnan natin. Ay, ba't ang layo naman sa 2.4? Ay, nako po. Weird lang eh, no? Weird. Naglagay kayo ng table, naglagay kayo ng data, tapos yung analysis niya, eh, kinuha nyo naman sa ibang paper. So, anong point? Anong point ng data nyo? Hindi talaga kayo gumawa analysis dito. Copy-pasting lang talaga ang ginawa nyo dito. Okay, frequency of tropical cyclones. Na, okay. 74, 84, 92, 80. Ganyan ba kadami? Okay, ibang bansa nga pala to. Hindi pala to Philippines. Okay. So, it means 74, 95. Eh, hindi yan Philippines eh. Walang sense yan eh. Okay? So, sa Philippines, ginawa ko na para sa inyo. Kasi hindi nyo ginawa eh. Wawa naman kayo. Okay. So, 2008, meron 35 total na mga tropical cyclone. 40, 22, 20, 33, 43. So, napansin nyo, no? May time na 33, may time na parehas ng 33, may parehas ng 2021 sa 2011, no? Kung papansin nyo, hindi talaga nag-increase. Oo, walang masyadong increase. So, okay. Hindi yan. Ay. Okay. Tapos sila ng average. Average is 40. Okay. So this is the average. Gawa kayo ng line kasi average yan. Okay. So, okay. So, ibig sabihin, mas marami yung, no? Mas marami yung nasa taas, no? Kaysa mababa. So, mag 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So, overall, no? Kung titingnan nyo, meron pa rin pataas na trend. Meron pa rin itong pataas na trend. Try natin sa correlation. Mag-correlation tayo. Stat correl. Okay. So, correlation between year and the number of total. Okay. So, 29%. Very low, no? How about this one? Correlation between the number of years. Okay, mali. Number of years, year, and then the super typhoon. A very low correlation. Also, year and the number of and the wind intensity. Wala din. Now, how about the CO2 level and the number of tropical cyclones that occurred? Oh, wait lang. Hindi yata. Correlation 2008. So 13. May doble yata. Ito na lang. So, may 45% to. Diba? 45%. How about the intensity? Number CO2 levels and the intensity. Sobra din ulit, sorry. So, negative. May negative correlation. Okay. So, how about this? Ito na lang. Another last question. The CO2 level and the number of super typhoons. Slight correlation. Okay. So, we already did the analysis now. So, in the Philippine setting, so there is really, not in the Philippine setting, but as you can see here, there is really an increasing number of CO2 levels in the atmosphere, which increased by 2.2197 ppm per year. Okay? Now, this is the result of the correlational analysis. We tested if there is a correlation between correlation in the years and the total number of the typhoons. Total number of typhoons in the Philippines, in the Pacific, okay? Ang scope nito is only the Pacific region. So, any typhoon o tropical cyclone na nasa Pacific region, ito yung data. So, there is a 0.29 0.29 correlation which translates to 29%. Okay? 29% correlation. Now, tingnan natin yung table na binigay nyo kanina. So, low positive. So, lumalabas sa low positive, no? Ay, hindi. Low. Negligible correlation. Okay. Nandito nga to. Corel, B10, B10, and J. Okay? Very interesting. There is negligible. There's negligible correlation. There's no correlation at all between for the years and the amount of number of tropical cyclones or tropical cyclones. There's none. And very weird lang, no? And there's also no correlation or negligible correlation between years and the number of super typhoons. Okay? There's none. There's also no correlation between the years and the wind speed intensity. It means to say, that even if time is passing, the strength or the wind intensity, the highest wind intensity of a typhoon does not really matter. Okay. Same with Okay, how about the number of the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere and the maximum wind intensity of a typhoon? Also negligible at only 19%. Only 19% eh. Negative naman kapag ito the CO2 level and the wind intensity or the speed, the wind intensity. Titingnan natin kung merong similarity sa report nyo, no? So, sabi the number of tropical cyclones from 2011 to 2020, in correlation with carbon dioxide level of 2010 to 2020, the correlation siya is about 72. So, sabi nyo, diba? Sabi nyo, CO2 versus number of typhoons. Saan ba yun dito? J and B. Okay. Sabi nyo, it's 0.72. No, it's 0.72. The correlation is 0.72. Pero dito, in the Philippine setting, in the Pacific area region, I'm getting 0.45. Okay? So, which means, low positive? Low positive? Merong slight, very slight, yeah. So something somehow it really affects, no, number of typhoons. So slightly affect CO2 level, slightly affect number of TC. Okay? Sa mata. Okay? So, CO2 levels slightly affect number of TC. Which is mag-agree tayong dalawa. Meron sa inyo, 0.75, sa akin is 0.45. Okay. Intensity. So, intensity yung medyo weird lang sa inyo kasi KT eh. Kasi sa bagay, baka hurricanes kasi ganyan. Sa atin kasi is kilometers per hour yung peak, no, yung bugso. So, yun, mababa lang nga dito. Sa atin nga 230. Bakit? Ano kasi to KT? Ano ba yung KT na yan? Yung sinasabi ko na yung KT. So, CO2 and intensity. Diba? Intensity. Saan ba yan? F. B and F. There's negative. There's no. Okay. Yes. It's true. The intensity. Sa akin nga, negative eh. Okay. Mega hurricanes. See, mega hurricanes. Sa atin, super typhoons, no? So, meron bang correlation between CO2 and super typhoons? Meron ba yan? G? B and G? Yeah, very, very minimal. Okay. Minimal. Sa inyo, ano ba sa inyo? Oo. Talaga? Sa inyo, merong strong correlation. May strong correlation. Tingnan natin, no? May Eastern Pacific ba na yan? Ano ba yan? Eastern Pacific. Ano ba ito? Ano ba yung settings nyo? Eastern Pacific Basin. Ito, dito. Ito yung sa inyo, Eastern Pacific Basin. Saan ba yung Eastern Pacific Basin? Dito nga. Tama. Dito ang Eastern Pacific Basin. Okay. So, tinan natin ang CO2 level, no? Air quality, CO2. CO naman ito. Carbon monoxide naman ito. So, papansin nyo, no? Dito, area na to. Okay? Mukhang meron nga effect, no? Kasi titingnan nyo, hindi naman nabubuo dito yung bagyo. Dito naman nabubuo ang bagyo ng Pilipinas. Dito sa area na ito. Hindi naman dito. At pansin nyo, no? Iba talaga yung weather pattern dito sa area na ito. Which means to say na pwede talaga magkaroon tayo ng magkaibang result. Kasi again, it depends on the geographical location. As I already said or I already mentioned, may mga location talaga na normal na yung bagyo. Kasi actually hindi siya bagyo kasi talagang normal lang siya na ganyan eh. Meron talagang movement na ganyan. Siguro kung Philippine settings ang ginamit nyo, pwede tayo mag-counter check eh, no? Pwede ko ma-counter check yung gawa nyo kaso hindi eh. So iba talaga tayo ng result. Kaso weird lang, no? Paano kayo nagkaroon ng strong correlation size? Eh samantalang 004 242 76529107513 eh sa 2015 may 10, 2014 may 9, 2011 may 6. Hindi naman naabot ng 7.7 correlation talaga yun kung titingnan mo. At saka ito, you mean wala talagang mega hurricane nung panahon na yon? Bakit walang mega hurricane sa 2001 to 2007? Ba't wala? Hindi nyo man lang sinabi kung bakit. Wala man lang ganyan, parang weird lang. Walang hurricane ng ganyan? Talaga? Kahit isa lang dito? Kahit isa lang sa 2002? Diba? So, it means to say na really, ano nyo lang to, napipaste nyo lang talaga ito. Hindi papagod na ako. Oh yeah, alam na natin yan. So, bakit ko pa kailangan sabihin? Tapos may pag-asa kayo. Weird. May pag-asa kayo tapos wala man lang, di man lang Philippine setting. What? Mhm. Okay. So, dito tayo pabalik eh. CO2 levels slightly affect the number of TC, which means to say that the amount of CO2 levels in the atmosphere has a slight effect on the number of occurring typhoons. Okay? So, you have to ask yourself, how do typhoons form? So, typhoons form when there is more energy in the sea. Tama ito. Kasi, the higher the temperature of the sea level, of the sea, the surface temperature of the sea, mas marami yung chance, o mas maraming energy yung bagyo. So, it creates more energy. Higher temperature means more energy, which means more typhoons. Okay? But the good thing is, but the really good thing is, dumadami yung bagyo pero yung intensity, yung lakas ng bagyo ay hindi correlated sa CO2 level. So medyo mapapanatag tayo ng loob doon kasi hindi naman porket pala tumataas ang CO2 level ay tumataas ay lalong papalakas ng bagyo. So hindi ganoon. So I think meron tayong nawawalang factor dito. I think there is a missing factor, which is the amount of rainwater. This is one of the factors that you have to consider really. Why? Because a typhoon can be a typhoon can be can be just a normal typhoon. Hindi siya malakas ang wind intensity gaya ng, for example, ito, mapansin nyo, meron tayong 315. Pwedeng 315 yung wind intensity niya, pero yung rain niya ay sobrang dami. So, meron tayong kulang na data, which is the amount of rain. I think, if you're going to put data here in the amount of rain, you will further understand, no? We will create something, or we will get a conclusion that the probably the increasing CO2 levels creates makes typhoons bigger and has contain huge amounts of rain. So ito yung nakakatakot yung rain, hindi yung wind. Mas nakakatakot talaga yung rain kasi ito yung nagpapabaha, ito yung nagpapasira ng gamit. I think na wala kayong datang ganito, which is minus points na naman sa inyo. Kasi it simply did not consider, again, humidity and the frequency and the strength. So we found out that the strength, okay, strength is not correlated with CO2. Frequency is, yes, it's correlated with CO2. But the question is humidity or the amount of rain that the typhoon carries is also correlated with CO2 level? This is yet to be found out. And ito talaga dapat ang masama nyo kaso lang wala. Means to say na wala, tinamad talaga kayo, nag-copy paste lang kayo, so wala. So it means to say that ang dami-dami nyo pero wala kayong masyadong ginawa. Isa lang sigurong gumawa nito. Yeah, so definitely this paper will receive a very bad grade. So, siguro parasan din sa nauna, 75. Yeah. Okay, so I think that's it. Ayoko nang ipaka-stress yung sarili ko. Nasi-stress na ako. Kasi ayoko talaga ng mga katamaran. Pero anyways, so wala nandiyan na Nandiyan na kayo So I think yun na lang. Bye.